You have heard it before, and it made you cringe. A voicemail plays back. A video someone recorded of you starts speaking, and out of the speaker comes a voice you barely recognize, thinner, higher, stranger than the one you know. Your first thought is almost always the same. Do I really sound like that? You do, to everyone else. That is exactly how you sound. That recording is the real you, the voice you hear in your own head, the one you have loved and trusted your whole life, is the illusion. Most people assume the recording is simply bad quality, a cheap microphone, a weird speaker, but the real answer is far stranger. Because you have spent your entire life hearing a version of your own voice that no one else on earth has ever heard. You are the only person alive who cannot know what you truly sound like. And the reason why reach deep into the bones of your skull and back into the strangest corners of how your brain protects you. Start with the physics because this part is almost simple. When anyone else hears you speak, the sound takes a single pass. It leaves your mouth, travels through the air, and enters their ears. That is it. Air conduction. It is clean and it is honest. But when you hear yourself speak, something entirely different happens. You hear your voice through two paths at once. One path is the same air that everyone else hears, but the second path travels through the inside of your own head. Your vocal cords vibrate, and those vibrations move through the bones of your skull, through soft tissue and fluid, directly to the listening machinery of your inner ear. This is called bone conduction, and it changes everything because bone is dense. It carries low frequencies far better than air does, so the voice traveling through your skull arrives deeper, richer, and warmer than it truly is. Your whole life, you have been hearing your voice with the bass turned up, a private remix that no microphone will ever capture. When you hear a recording, that bone conducted bass is suddenly gone, only the air version remains, and so, to your ears, you sound thinner and higher and wrong. Even though that is precisely how you have always sounded to the rest of the world. The scientist and inventor Alexander Graham Bell understood the power of bone conduction more than a century ago. He experimented with transmitting sound through the bones of the skull, work that would one day lead to certain hearing aids and even bone conduction headphones you can buy today. The pathway is real, measurable, and it has been quietly rewriting your voice inside your head since before you could talk. But if it were only physics, the story would end there. It does not, because the deeper mystery is not why the recording sounds different. It is why it bothers you so much. Think about it. A slightly different pitch should not trigger the wave of discomfort that most people feel. You do not recoil in horror when a song plays a semitone lower than you remembered. So why does your own recorded voice make you wince, squirm, and want to cover your ears? Here we cross from physics into psychology, and the answer becomes far more human. Part of it is something psychologists call the mere exposure effect, first studied in depth by a researcher named Robert Zajonc. The idea is that we tend to prefer things simply because they are familiar. The more we encounter something, the more we like it, and the more any deviation from it feels unsettling. You have heard your internal voice hundreds of thousands of times. It is one of the most familiar sounds in your entire existence. So, when the recording delivers a version that does not match, your brain does not just notice the difference, it rejects it. The unfamiliar version feels almost like an imposter wearing your name. But there is something even deeper going on, and it touches one of the most important things you own, your sense of identity. Your voice is not just a sound, it is a core piece of who you believe yourself to be. It is tied to your confidence, your personality, the character you have built inside your own mind, and for your entire life, that identity has been fused to the warm, resonant, bone conducted voice only you can hear. Then the recording plays and it presents you with a stranger, a version of you that is real, that everyone else has always known, but that clashes with your private self imaging. Researchers who studied this describe a genuine jolt, a small identity crisis in miniature. This is not really the pitch you are reacting to. It is the collision between the self you hear in your head and the self the world has always heard. You are, in a very real sense, meeting yourself for the first time and discovering you are a stranger. There is even evidence that this discomfort runs deeper than more preference. Some studies have found that people will rate a recorded voice as more attractive and more competent when they do not know it is their own. The same voice, judged by the same person, is liked more when the label you is removed. The problem was never the sound, the problem was the ownership. So consider what this means about you and about everyone you have ever met. Every single person walks around with two voices, the private one, rich and familiar, that lives only inside their skull, and the public one, the true one, that belongs to the world. You will never hear your own real voice the way a friend does, and they will never hear the warm internal version you have known your whole life. In this one specific way, each of us is sealed off, alone, with a sound no one else can access. And here is the quiet, almost tender truth hiding underneath all of it. That recorded voice, the one that makes you cringe, is the voice that has comforted your friends. It is the voice that made someone laugh until they cried. It is the voice that said, I love you, and meant it. The voice that soothed a child, that told the story at the dinner table, that carried every word you have ever given to another person. The world does not find that voice strange. The world finds it familiar. The world finds it you. The only person who has ever been startled by your true voice is the one person who was never meant to hear it. So the next time a recording plays and that old cringe rises up and you think, do I really sound like that? Try to remember that is actually happening. You are not hearing a flaw, you are hearing the truth. You are hearing the voice that the people who love you have always heard, the one they would recognize in a crowded room, the one they would know everywhere. You spent your whole life as the only person who could not hear it. And now, for just a moment, you finally can.